a re tlo utlwa ka Julius re country ya kwalwa haiyo eo.
Do not listen to Mickey Mouse.
Julius Malema spoke again about Nhlanhla Lux in his visit in Ghana. Hello everyone, welcome to Cool Buzz TV, welcome back to another video. Well guys, as you just see it in our title, the president of EFF Julius Malema is in his official visit in Ghana, where he held an African dialogue and he gave a very powerful speech. For those who have not watched it, well, watch this video here. You'll find everything that Julius Malema spoke about. But in this video, I want us to pay more attention to something that came as a question from one of the audience, since they were asking Julius Malema questions, and one of the audience he had to ask this question to Mr. Julius Malema, saying that, Mr. Julius Malema, we heard you properly, we heard you very well on everything you've been preaching about the unity of Africa, on how you want Africa to have one currency, how you want Africa to be united, how you want Africa to have one army, how you want Africa to put all their powers together in order for them to defeat the Western power. That is a very beautiful speech from you. But when we look into the country where you are coming from, South Africa, it is one of the first country in Africa where all these bad things are happening, where they are promoting xenophobias, where you find South Africans killing their fellow Africans like animals. The men even went on saying that there is even an organization called Operation Dudula, where you find people such as Nhlanhla Lux promoting xenophobias against their fellow African brothers. How possible is it that you are here telling us about unity of Africa, but yet your own fellow South Africans, they don't consider their fellow Africans as their brothers? Well, that was a question which was put to the president of EFF Julius Malema. Without delay, have listened to what was the answer of Julius Malema on that.
Thank you very much. I think most of the points were just complimentary more than anything. Nhlanhla Lux is not a definition of South Africa. He wanted to use xenophobia for his rise to fame. Even Dudula movement did not belong to him. He went to hijack it for his own selfish interest, and we have reduced him to an insignificant molecule. And therefore, no one can rise in Africa on the ticket of xenophobia. That is the beginning and the end of your political career. So anyone who says such politics is not worth entertaining, because they are short-lived politics and they will never be sustained, because politics are based on history, on philosophy, on ideology. Who of the ideological icons that are celebrated internationally and politically, progressively, who has arisen into power on the basis of xenophobia? So that's why it's not sustainable. So please, such individuals who seek to project us as wrong people in South Africa, do not take them to heart. I like that. You see, speak truth to power, but please don't want to be liked. A lot of us, we suffer from wanting to be liked, especially being liked by people in power, because you seek favors. I seek no favor, for because I believe in myself. So you ought to believe in yourself. If you are an engineer like my brother here, if you are a doctor like my sister here, you've got the qualifications, you've got what it takes. You're not going to be scared of some illiterate because it comes from the bush and they say he's a soldier, a non-thinker, and you are scared that when I oppose this person, he will point a gun at me. You must tell him that put it here and shoot me and make sure I die. Because I'm not scared of death. I'm scared to die before I die. Because the day you stop telling the truth and you are pretending and you seek to be liked, you are dead. You are equal as a dead person because you are not enjoying anything. So when I live here, I'm not worried there's someone who's going to call and say, those things you spoke about them there, pay me the money I borrowed you. I don't owe anyone anything, nothing. I don't seek favors from a white man, from colonialists, from anyone. So my brother, don't be scared. Don't try to really impress, because you're impressing corruption. You are not impressing that person. You want to be liked by corruption. So you can't seek love from corruption. Corruption is the destroyer of future and must be fought here in Ghana, and it must be fought in South Africa, and it must be fought all over Africa. So please, let's not be scared to confront the powers that be.
Well guys, as you just saw it for yourself, that was the president of EFF Julius Malema answering to the questions which was raised among the audience who were attending this African dialogue that took place in Accra in Ghana. As you all know, for some days now, that the president of EFF Julius Malema has been in a visit, in an African tour, if I have to put it in that way, because he did not just go from South Africa to Ghana straight away, but he started from Liberia, where he was invited to the inauguration of the president, the new current elected president of Liberia. And this president of Liberia, he used to be also an opposition leader. So this is something that Africans, they have come to learn, to have that spirit of ubuntu. Whenever there is something good happening around, they invite one another. So Julius Malema, as one of the main opposition leader, not only in South Africa but in Africa continent, he was more than welcome, because in Liberia there is also a EFF which is represented there as a political party in their parliament. So there is what they call EFF Liberia. So they had to invite the men, and you guys, you saw how Julius Malema attended these inaugurations, and everything went well. He even gave his point of view about how the oppositions, they should behave themselves once they are in the parliament in that part of Africa countries.
Members of parliament must make sure that parliament works for the people. It holds the executive accountable. They must not be sweethearts of the president and ministers. They must look after the resources of the people by holding those in the executive accountable. If you are a member of parliament and you seek favor and you want to be liked by the president or a minister, you must know you have already failed. We are not in parliament. I'm in parliament myself. We're not in parliament to be liked. We're in parliament to make sure democracy works. And democracy can only work if the resources of the state are looked after. How do we ensure that? Parliament must always watch over the executive on how it utilizes the state resources. If it utilizes state resources for family benefit and individual benefit and friends benefit or patronage, then the EFF and the members of parliament must make sure they make the loudest noise against corruption and using the money of the resource of the state for the benefits of certain individuals who are close to the executive.
So after then, he had to go to Ghana because they had invited him, because they had organized this African dialogue where Pan-Africans, they have to sit down and try to discuss about matters that are surrounding Africa, matters that can liberate Africa, matters that can give that freedom, economical freedom to Africans, matters that can raise Africa and give that revolutions to Africans. And looking around, of course, back in days, this kind of places, people were giving a speech there. They were like Prof. Lumumba from Kenya and other Pan-Africans. But lately, it seemed to be that Julius Malema, it did not only affect the South Africa politics and South African youth, but it affected the entire Africa. So he had become like one of those role models for Africans, whether you are into politics as a opposition political party, or whether you are a Pan-Africans, everything that Julius Malema had been saying, it had really revolted a lot of Africans, and they are so thirsty, wanting to hear even more from Julius Malema. So that was the reason why they had to invite him, so that he can go and give this speech. So he gave a very powerful speech, but like always, he was a guest of honor. After he finished giving the speech, it was about time they start asking him questions. And through the questions, because there were a lot of questions, we don't have all the time to put everything here for you, but there's only one question that bring us here today so that we can discuss, because these questions, it is a kind of like a reality that usually take place in South Africa. We all know that it's been for some times now, a couple of years ago, that we've been experiencing these things of a xenophobia attack in South Africa, whereby we attacking our fellow Africans, we bend them with tires alive, we kill them like snakes. We could not even consider the really meaning of their life as our fellow brothers. So we kind of like hating ourselves and manifest our frustrations, our anger on our fellow Africans. If you are looking for a job, we can't find a job, then we have to go and take our anger out on our fellow Africans. So all these things that's been happening over here in South Africa, well, it was not only South Africans who have to see what has been happening here, but it seemed like the whole entire world, the Africa continent, they've been seeing what we are doing over here, and this keep on ruining our reputation on one way or other. So now that these fellow Africans from Ghana, they were in front of Julius Malema, the man who always preach the good news about the unity of Africa, the good news about how Africa should develop as one continent and not as a countries. So they had to come and ask him these questions to know, Mr. Malema, but does this really make sense according to you? How do you find it when you see your people, your South Africans, busy killing their fellow Africans, and there's nothing's been done so far? And when you are having people in your own country, some politicians as Nhlanhla Lux promoting xenophobia attack, calling African brothers and sisters names, and you are here telling us that we should be united. How can we be united when you still have your own people in your country who don't believe in your dream, who are actually fighting you by all means, trying to bring separations among Africans, planting that hatred, campaigning for bad behaviors to take place among Africans who are living in South Africa? So that was the kind of questions this audience had to put to Julius Malema. And as you listen for yourself, in the video that I just played for you, Julius Malema gave the answer to that question. And I believe with this answer, I personally am looking forward to see what will be the next reaction of Nhlanhla Lux about it, because it seemed like it was a question that Julius Malema was not going to be able to avoid. Because I remember Julius Malema saying that he will never gonna talk or mention anything about Nhlanhla Lux anymore. He never want to discuss anything about his name, because he feel like he was busy making him to become even more popular, for the fact that he have to come and say something about him, and the man feel like was even become even more powerful, because he can feel that he want attention, and Julius Malema, he was giving him that attention. So Julius Malema stopped talking about Nhlanhla Lux for some times now, and we all know, even before the national shutdown that the EFF with Julius Malema had called upon South African to attend, during that time, it was the last time where by Nhlanhla Lux was not at peace with the EFF members or even with Julius Malema, because he was always attacking Julius Malema.
Simple message. Julius or country ya kwalo. Haiyo eo.
Do not listen to Mickey Mouse.
After all this being said, we saw Julius Malema could not respond back to him, could not even react. The only thing Julius Malema said was only to say that Do not listen to Mickey Mouse. So Julius Malema was referring here to people such as Nhlanhla Lux and everyone who were busy talking too much on the social media, on the TV, trying to stop this national shutdown to not take place. And that was the last time Julius Malema spoke about Nhlanhla Lux in a parable ways without mentioning his name. Since then, he never wanted to say anything about Nhlanhla Lux. Instead, it is only EFF members back then who were trying maybe to respond back to Nhlanhla Lux, but beside that, he never really want to say much about it. So now, Julius Malema, in his response in Accra, Ghana, when he was responding to this question, he had to explain that no, you know, in Africa, if you have to come with this hate speech against your fellow Africans, you as a politicians, you must know that this will be something that will finish your career as a politicians. You're not gonna go anywhere, you're not gonna do nothing big, because there is no one who will come and entertain you about that. And apparently the man is like he knew also what was gonna happen sooner or later. Yes, because if you look, the Operation Dudula that we all know, the way they first started and the one that we are having today, you will tell that this is now something else which has nothing to do with politics. And that is even one of the reasons why Nhlanhla Lux have to leave the Operation Dudula and go and start something else called by the name of Soweto Parliament. Because you can tell already that there is someone behind all this. There is someone who's financing them, and you know, you can have a good idea about something and you can start your organizations. You know, you can get many support from many different people, but the moment money come in, well, money will always come with a division. Money comes with a lot of things. Money comes with a separation, and that's what happened in case of Operation Dudula, the one of Nhlanhla Lux and the one that we are seeing today. And since all these things happens, you can tell that even Nhlanhla Lux is no more the same man that we know before, because he had buried himself with his hated speech when it comes to what our fellow Africans. And many people, they have understand that a politician can't have this kind of language, because a politician, guys, let me give a very simple example just to show you on how much I agree with Julius Malema on this one. Do you know that in the ruling party, the ANC, there is a lot of politicians who are against our fellow Africans, who hate them with everything in their power? But why we never see them going on the TV and having hate speech against fellow Africans? Why we never see them seeing, like, maybe criticizing or calling them names? Why? Because they know already that we are a ruling party, we are politicians, and we should be doing things differently. We must have that diplomat language and not a street language. So these other politicians, such as Nhlanhla Lux with Operation Dudulas, they just want to have people paying attention to what they are saying, but forgetting that when it comes in the world of politics, things does not happen that way. Ask yourself a question: how many times, whether it is a President Ramaphosa or Mbalula or whoever, they have entertained his speech, regardless of how many right he is in his hate speech that he usually give. So again here, you will tell that Julius Malema, he seemed like he knew that sooner or later, just a matter of time, this man, he will disappear and no one will pay attention to him again. Well, we shall wait and see what will happen on the side of Nhlanhla Lux. But again, the main point we should take from all this is the question which was put to President of EFF Julius Malema. Because, guys, you can't preach a good news without having good example. You need to have a fine example so that when people are listening to you, they'll be like, ah, yes. Julius Malema can't stand or go out there telling Africans to be united, telling Africans to have one currency, telling Africans to be, to put their power together. And at the same time, in his own country, Africans are not welcome. Africans are hated. Zimbabweans are hated. Nigerians are hated. They are being called names. We're not saying that no, these fellow Africans, they don't do bad things here. Of course, all of us, we do bad things. Whether you are South Africans, whether you are from Nigeria or from anywhere, there's a bad things, but I think we should leave it into the end of the law enforcement so that they can do their job and arrest all the criminals, and not us as a fellow South Africans to take justice into our hands. That is something that this audience was trying to put to President of EFF Julius Malema, and he had to give also his answer, because we can be united only if we can show the love of one another. Because sometimes, me personally, I usually ask myself this question, like, okay, how possible is it that when we see a white man in the street of Joburg or Pretoria, we shake like this, we respect them, whether you are a police, whether you are a metropolice or whoever, you don't even have the courage to ask them for their papers. You don't even want to ask them where they are coming from. You don't even have to do anything like that. These people that are walking in the street of South Africa without papers, even if they have it, they never carry it with them. Why? Because no one asked them for papers. But when you see your fellow Africans, you have to go and start asking for their papers, which is not bad. After all, you are doing your job. But don't you think that your job, you are only choosing one color of people or a categories of people that you want to do your job properly, and the rest you don't even want to ask them? So I think the same treatment that we are having to against our fellow Africans, we should apply it to everyone, whether you are coming from Bangladesh, whether you are coming from Pakistan, from Portugal, from France. You have also to go through the same service or the same treatment. I think if we have that kind of mentality, then things will be more different. Because Africa, we've been through a lot, and we're not gonna succeed, or we're not gonna feel that we're even more free if we still have the hatred toward our fellow Africans, to treat them in different ways. I believe this is something that we should take as a message and try to apply it. Let's love one another. If you see your fellow Africans maybe misbehaving or doing something illegal, well, try to talk to them. And if you feel like they can't listen to you, then involve other law enforcement to come and deal with him, or maybe report him to the police so that he can go and answer to the law enforcement. That is how Africa will end up being united some days. But if we don't apply all this, then let us forget about the unity of Africa. Let us forget about the true liberation of Africans. We can only do all these things only if we have the love of one another, only if we consider each other, only if we respect each other, only if we put Africa first before anything. Guys, thank you so much for taking this time, your time, to watch this video until now. It was very important that we come forward and discuss this question and answer that was put to the President of EFF Julius Malema. Now that you have watched everything, do us now a favor in return. Before you leave, make sure that you give us your thumbs up, like this video, so that this video can reach even more audience out there. But if you really do find something more beneficial about what we've been discussing in this video, and you want to know more about us in the next time, well, it is very simple. You just have to click that subscribe button, so that whenever we're live here, you'll be able to get a notification and join this big family of Cool Buzz TV. Thank you so much. That will be all for now. Continue to be yourself, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. I'll see you again very soon. Ciao, ciao.